Sure, I don't miss anything, David. Councillors, are you ready? Okay. I declare this meeting open at 7:01 and welcome everyone to this evening's meeting of Ku-ring-gai Council. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here this evening. As councillors, we are entrusted with the responsibility of representing the diverse interests of our residents. Let us work together in a collaborative spirit, respect diverse opinions and seek common ground for the good of Ku-ring-gai. Before we begin, I'd like to outline a few procedures in relation to this evening's meeting of Council. This meeting is being recorded and webcast live on Council's website. Only councillors and council staff will be shown on camera. Attendees must not make a recording or photograph of the meeting without prior approval. Council meetings are open to the public as observers only. In line with the Code of Meeting Practice, members of the public can address Council via the monthly public forum. Council may close part of the meeting to deal with certain confidential matters in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act. These discussions will not be open to the public and will not be webcast. All attendees must comply with the Code of Meeting Practice and other relevant council codes, policies and procedures. Attendees must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleged breaches of the council's Code of Conduct or making other potentially defamatory statements. Councillors, council staff and members of the public must ensure that mobile phones are turned to silent, declare and manage any conflicts of interest that they have about any items of business that is on this evening's agenda. Are there any apologies for councillors? Okay, I have an apology from Councillor Cedric Spencer. Can I seek a motion to accept apologies and grant a leave of absence from any of the councillors? I will move. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Barbara Ward. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Are there any apologies for staff?
Madam Mayor, there are no apologies from staff.
Okay. Are there any conflict of interest declarations for councillors? Just reminding councillors, if you could please confirm significant, non-significant, pecuniary, non-pecuniary and nature of conflict. So I might just start with Councillor Kim Wheatley, if I may, only because there's two parts to this. Okay.
Declaring a conflict of interest for GB13, non-pecuniary, non-significant. I sit on the Sydney Northern Planning Panel and I have actually voted on this particular item and I will be leaving the room during discussions.
Thank you. Now, General Manager, do you have any other declarations that you've received from councillors? I also have a few. I can see a few councillors' lights on, so I will start with Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have submitted special disclosure of pecuniary interest under clause 4.39 for my primary residence and for the primary residence of my parents who live near me. This is for GB12. The pecuniary interest of a financial gain or loss in this instance is unknown at present, as I've stated in the form. It is unknown as our properties may or may not be impacted by various transport-oriented development scenarios currently under discussion, and the TOD provisions for heritage-listed properties are in flux. The dual occupancy provisions, therefore, that we are discussing today are affected by possible TOD boundaries. I have made these disclosures out of an abundance of caution. They enable me to discharge my duties as an elected representative for my ward and for council transparently. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ballard-Turner. Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would also like to make a special disclosure tonight of a significant pecuniary interest relating to GB12 dual occupancy minimum lot size, as my primary place of residence may be affected by the proposed planning control. In line with the Code of Conduct, I will remain in the chamber and vote on the business item. I have submitted a written declaration to the General Manager to be tabled at this meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Barbara Ward.
Thank you, Madam. I too would like to make a special disclosure of pecuniary interest relating to item GB12, dual occupancy minimum lot size. The disclosure relates to my principal place of residence, and I have submitted a written declaration to the General Manager to be tabled at this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Martin Smith.
Madam Mayor, I would like to put in disclosure, considering the New South Wales Government has put us into it. I would like to make a special disclosure of pecuniary interest relating to item GB12, dual occupancy minimum lot size. The disclosure relates to my principal place of residence, and I have submitted a written declaration to the General Manager to be tabled at this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin Smith. Councillor Kim Wheatley.
I too would like to make a special disclosure of pecuniary interest relating to item GB12 for dual occupancy minimum size. The disclosure relates to my principal property of residence, and I have submitted a written declaration to the General Manager which will be tabled at this meeting.
Councillor Sam Nye.
Thank you. I would like to make a special disclosure of pecuniary interest relating to item GB12, dual occupancy minimum lot sizes. The disclosure relates to my principal place of residence, which isn't affected by the staff recommendation of option A, but could be impacted if we went with option B. And I have submitted a written declaration to the General Manager to be tabled at this meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Jeff Pettit.
I'd like to clear a non-significant non-pecuniary interest in GB12. My property is greater than 1015 and I'll be square metres, and I'll be leaving the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Pettit. Okay, are there any conflicts of interest declarations for staff? Oh, sorry, Councillor Matthew Devlin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In light of all the other disclosures, I would also like to make a disclosure of a pecuniary interest relating to GB12 dual occupancy lot sizes, my principal place of residence, and I'll need to update some documentation for the General Manager.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Devlin. Okay. Are there any conflict of interest declarations for staff? General Manager.
Madam Mayor, there are no declarations for staff.
Okay. Are there any documents circulated in the councillors' papers to be dealt with at the appropriate time during the meeting, which is the Greens?
Madam Mayor, there are some documents. There is Merrill Minute 2, which is a late Merrill Minute, a proposal for an extraordinary meeting to consider the transport-oriented development preferred scenario. There was also a late report that was published to the website, but nevertheless it was for GB14, Norman Griffith's Oval Upgrade Project. There was a confidential memorandum for GB12, dual occupancy minimum lot size. There was another confidential memo for GB2, Youth Advisory Committee minutes. There was a confidential memo for C1, update on council land acquisitions for open space. There was a memo for GB12, dual occupancy minimum lot size post-exhibition. And there was a confidential late attachment for GB14, Norman Griffith's Oval Upgrade.
Thank you. Can I seek a motion for these reports to remain in confidential? So moved by Councillor Martin Smith and seconded by Councillor Taylor. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, the confirmation of minutes. Can I please get a motion? Okay, I've got an extra document that needs to be considered in the closed meeting and not released to press and public. I could just refer to the General Manager with that particular document that was excluded, but will now be included.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There was an item that was not one of the late ones, but nevertheless is confidential. Item C1, update on council land acquisitions for open space.
Okay, so can I seek a motion for that report to remain confidential? Moved by Councillor Indu Balachandran and seconded by Councillor Ward. And all those in favour, that is unanimous. Okay, we'll move on to the confirmation of minutes. Can I please get a motion to confirm the minutes of the previous meeting? Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Smith. All those in favour, that is unanimous. I have 2 mayoral minutes. So I will just bring the first one up on the screen if I could, which is the recognition of the service of Dr. Anthony Rigney. Okay. On behalf of Council and our community, I'd like to pay tribute to the invaluable contribution and service of Dr. Anthony Rigney, who has recently stepped down as CEO of the Kids organisation. Kids is the leading support organisation for young people experiencing mental health challenges in Ku-ring-gai. Dr. Rigney joined Kids at the Clinical Service Manager in 2017 and since then has built an excellent clinical team at Kids, earning the organisation a distinguished reputation within the industry for its compassionate, accessible and effective approach to supporting young people in crisis and their families. Dr. Rigney's expertise and willingness to contribute across a wide range of projects has been highly sought after and deeply valued. He has been a steadfast supporter of Ku-ring-gai Council's initiatives for young people, always advocating for the mental health and well-being of young people in our area. In particular, the support provided to the St Ives Youth Hub by Dr. Rigney and the staff of Kids has been greatly appreciated, and we look forward to continuing this valuable partnership. Dr. Rigney's leadership and vision has played a pivotal role in shaping mental health services in this community, and the work he has done will continue to benefit many lives for years to come. On behalf of our council and our community, I extend our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Anthony Rigney. His leadership will be deeply missed, but his legacy will undoubtedly continue to inspire and shape the future of mental health services for young people in our area. Now, just before I move this mayoral minute, are there any speakers that would like to speak on this mayoral minute? So first I have Councillor Sam Nye.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Dr. Anthony Rigney joined Kids as a Clinical Services Manager in 2017, around the same time that I joined as Secretary and Public Officer. Through his personable approach, the organisation's care for young people thrived, and when our General Manager resigned in 2019, we asked Anthony to step up and lead the organisation. Now, during his time as the leader, Kids has grown from a small organisation operating only in Linfield to one that is also located in hubs at Avalon, Hornsby, Kirribilli, West Ryde, St Ives, Waitara, Campbelltown and several local schools. Through Kids expansion, we have been able to provide tens of thousands of youth mental health sessions to our young people. Of course, we would not have been able to provide these mental health services if it were not for the generous support of government agencies and other benefactors. And Anthony did a remarkable job of keeping these supporters on side. I remember the occasions where we received once-off federal and state funding to expand our youth services, and Anthony made sure that these funds were used efficiently and accounted for, which in turn gave government agencies the confidence to renew the grants in subsequent years. Anthony also worked hard after hours and attended many public functions to build our relationship with key donors. He attended Rotary dinners, Chambers of Commerce and other fundraising events as a public face of Kids, and our donors loved him. He was a well-qualified, humble speaker who demonstrated a deep care for young people and outcomes. Last year, in recognition of his public service, Ku-ring-gai Rotary awarded Dr. Anthony Rigney alongside Elizabeth Lovell from Lifeline with honorary memberships, and this is a testament to his ongoing work. I caught up with Anthony last month and he seems to be going well. I wish him all the best with his new adventures, and I look forward to seeing what happens with the next chapter of Kids as well.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Alec Taylor.
I just would like to add that Dr. Anthony Rigney made an incredibly valuable contribution to kids and our community, and we wish him well in future endeavours.
Thank you. Councillor Barbara Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too would just like to briefly say that I've had the pleasure of working with Anthony for a number of years, and his passion and invaluable commitment and support to kids has been wonderful, and the beneficiaries, the kids who has looked after, he showed an enormous amount of compassion that benefited all of them. I wish him all the very best for his future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Are there any other speakers? Being no further speakers, I will just move that mayoral minute. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Mayoral minute, which is MM2. There's just been some slight changes. If I could get that brought up on the screen. If we could maybe scroll down to the bottom where the changes are. I will tell you what the changes are, Chris. Okay, so the business papers for this meeting will be released on Tuesday, the 25th of March. And the public forum will be held on Monday 31st at 5 p.m. And the extraordinary council meeting will now be Monday the 31st of March, 31st of March at 7 p.m. Okay, would the councillors like me to read that mayoral minute, or are you happy to consider it read? Okay. Would anyone like to speak on that mayoral minute? Okay. No? Okay. I will move that mayoral minute. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay. Next, we've got petitions. Have any petitions been received by councillors or staff? No petitions? Okay, the next item is I'd like to invite councillors to nominate any item on the agenda that they wish to have a site inspection for. Okay, Councillor Barbara Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to have a site inspection for Kalgoorlie Street.
Is that 77?
GB11.
Yep, 77 Kalgoorlie Road, Pimble. Yep. Okay, and a seconder? Councillor Indu Balachandran. All those in favour? That is... Okay, it's Councillor Ward, Councillor Balachandran, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Devlin. Are you up or down? Down? Okay, all right, so we'll start again. So all those in favour, Councillor Barbara Ward, Councillor Indu Balachandran, Councillor Alec Taylor, Councillor Sam Nye, Councillor Kim Wheatley, Councillor Martin Smith and Councillor Kay, and those against, Councillor Jeff Pettit and Councillor Matt Devlin. Okay, that is carried. Okay, general business. Can I please ask a councillor to nominate any items on the agenda that they wish to adopt as per officer's recommendation, allowing for minor changes without debate? Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to recommend that we vote on the following business items without debate and allowing for minor revisions by the General Manager. GB items 1 through 10, GB 14 and C1. So that is, just repeating that, that's GB items 1 through 10, GB 14 and GB C1. And I have omitted GB 11, 12 and 13. 11 as we are having a site visit.
Yeah.
12 as there is a material change to the motion.
And 13?
And 13 as we have a councillor who must leave the room.
Yeah.
to vote
And
on that
are
item.
you moving those confidential items?
And C1 as well, yes.
And C1 and GB 14?
And GB 14.
Okay,
Yep.
excellent.
So
All right.
it was GB's general business items 1 through 10, 14 and C1.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so all those in favour? Would you like for us to
Beg
repeat?
your pardon? Councillor Ward, would you like to withdraw GB7?
Oh, okay.
Is someone withdrawing GB7? No? Okay.
No, okay, well, all right, we'll go back a step. So can I have a seconder? Councillor Kim Wheatley, all those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, Councillor Devlin?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Following consultation with my co-sponsor, Governance, the Corporate Lawyer and the General Manager, I'd like to withdraw notice of motion NN1. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will go through now the GB items that, so we have got GB 11. Okay, yep, so, sorry, yep, GB 12 is the first one. I think Councillor Pettit was leaving us for this particular. Just wait till he leaves the room. Okay, do I have a mover for GB 12? Okay, Councillor Indu Balachandran, seconded Councillor Alec Taylor. Would either of you, Councillor Indu, would you like to speak on GB 12?
Can I speak at the end?
Yeah, you can reserve your item, we can come back to you. Yep. Councillor Alec Taylor?
No, thank you.
Okay. We have Councillor Sam Nye.
Yep. So this is GB12.
This
okay?
is GB 12, yep, the dual occupancy minimum lot size post-exhibition.
I speak tonight in support of the staff recommendation for a dual occupancy minimum lot size of 1,015 square metres. However, I know this will be a controversial decision, so I want to qualify my support with 3 statements. First of all, dual occupancies provide our residents with diverse housing options so that they can stay with their family and friends here in Ku-ring-gai. When I go out there and talk to residents, whether they be at the local public school or the park or the shops or even at church, I often hear the same message, that each hopes that when their life circumstances change, there will be an appropriate housing option available to them in the local area so that they can stay connected to the community. For some, it may be because their elderly parents are getting too old to care for themselves or getting too old to maintain a large home, and the parents would like to now live in a respectably sized abode near their family for occasional care and social connection. For others, it may be because their adult children are looking for somewhere to move out to and start a new family, and other options such as moving to a cheaper suburb an hour away or having the grandkids grow up in a 60 square metre granny flat are not ideal. With dual occupancies under the state government's housing policy, it opens up the option for 2 moderate to large sized homes to be co-located in one place, allowing each family unit to remain connected while providing them with an appropriate level of privacy. Secondly, I know there are residents who want dual occupancies in smaller lot sizes such as 680 square metres, as do I, However, it simply isn't appropriate under the development controls imposed by the state government under this housing policy. These residents point out to our neighbouring LGAs and say, hey, how come they support smaller dual occupancy lot sizes? And to that, my response is that yes, it is true that our neighbours at Ryde, Hornsby, Northern Beaches and Willoughby support smaller lot sizes for dual occupancies. But did you know that they did so with different development controls in mind? At Ryde, Hornsby and Northern Beaches, they had a maximum floor space ratio for dual occupancies of 0.5 to 1, and at Willoughby they set an even more conservative FSR of 0.4 to 1. These low FSRs allow the provision of sufficient urban canopy to keep our suburbs cool, give us fresh air and support local wildlife. However, right now, dual occupancies are being considered statewide under much more aggressive planning controls of 0.65 to 1 through the state government's housing set, which will have an enormous impact on canopy. To make the numbers simple, let's take an example of a 1,000 square metre block. At FSR 0.65 to 1, it may support up to 350 square metres of soft landscaping, which isn't great, but is respectable. But if you apply the same controls to a 700 square metre block, then you only have 245 square metres for landscaping, which, after you factor in setbacks and driveways, leaves very little room left for any canopy to develop. So it is the state government's imposed FSR of 0.65 to 1, which makes it difficult to establish an appropriate level of tree canopy, and to work backwards for an appropriate minimum lot size, we end up with 1,015 square metres at Ku-ring-gai. Thirdly, I do hope that in the future, a sensible state government will consider appropriate planning controls for dual occupancies on smaller lot sizes. If they were to adopt a formula and, for example, support an FSR of 0.5 to 1 on a 700 square metre lot, then they can provide for 2 moderate-sized 4-bedroom homes, or alternately a larger 5-bedder and a smaller 3-bedder, while still supporting 350 square metres of landscaping and urban canopy. Such a move would allow for another 9,000 homes in Ku-ring-gai, but until the state government takes a more flexible and informed approach to its housing policy, my view is that we should stick with 1,015 square metres in Ku-ring-gai as the first phase. I encourage all councillors to support the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had some questions regarding this item, I suppose through the General Manager to the right council staff member. I'm interested in the kind of concerns, I suppose, that we've read about and that people have in our community. Firstly, what controls can council mandate for tree cover under dual occupancies progressed under compliant development certificates?
Yeah. General Manager, who are you referring that to?
I will refer it to the Director, Strategy and Environment.
Director of Strategy and Environment. Yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll get Craig Wise to answer this one.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Thank you,
Craig.
Mayor and councillors. Under the complying development pathway, there are the state government have proposed controls for deep soil provision and canopy cover, but they are very minor.
So we are bound to those controls?
Under complying development, yes.
Okay. Would it be possible to provide detail on notice on what they are?
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you. The second question I have is, what contributions are made to council for dual occupancy developments?
Who would like to take this question?
You talking about development contributions? Yep. They will be levied for one additional dwelling under our 711 plan.
Okay. And also, this is relates to the late paper on removing the 18-metre lot width as an additional control that DPHI was open to, because the review after exhibition found that imposing this would deliver a smaller number of eligible lots. I did note that the lot width will be addressed in the DCP controls. I'm interested in what the impact is of including it in DCP controls versus having the option to have included in the DPHI SEP.
By including the control in the DCP, they provide a lot more flexibility around how it would apply. It will be determined by overall objectives of what you'd like to achieve on the lot width. By setting it in the LEP, it will then become a development standard, and any variation would be required through a 4.6 application.
So I suppose I'm trying to understand thank you, that helps. Does it give us flexibility, or is there more control removed from council hands by not having it at a higher order SEP?
It provides greater flexibility in its application. It will actually, if the circumstances allow, it may allow a smaller lot width, if that's deemed appropriate and that meets the objectives of the control. There's less flexibility in doing that if it is in the LEP.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to very briefly speak to this business item. Firstly, I want to thank council staff and the consultants for their work on this project. I know that they have worked very hard on this and many fronts over the last few months, and I think they've done an incredible job against very high odds. For the record, I believe that dual occupancies typically result in 2 garages, 2 driveways, resulting in increased hard surfaces and the associated stormwater runoff and reduced tree canopy. Medium density development with appropriate deep soil provision is a far better and more effective approach than this state-imposed dual occupancy policy. I'm fundamentally opposed to this policy. I believe council staff have come up with the best possible outcome for what is ultimately a poor planning requirement.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Martin-Smith.
Madam Mayor, many of the councillors here this evening have actually already brought up quite a number of items that I agree with and have taken much away from what I would have liked to have said. So, on speaking on that, I must say, I secondly would like to congratulate the staff for putting together what they have. They've been working together tirelessly to put something forward to the state government that has been imposed onto this community. I think it's important that the community recognise, as a council, we've done everything that we can do to deliver the best outcome for this community. What we've got here tonight is the best out of a bad bunch, which our staff have managed to put together. And I think that, unfortunately, we haven't got a choice. We've got to do it. The state government has put it in. It's an environmental plan that they've overridden all our controls. Our DCPs, I think it's very disappointing that the only way that this council then can give any opportunity to the community is through a DCP. That is this council and staff that have put this together to hopefully control this runaway train that has been put forward into Ku-ring-gai to date. So for those reasons, I'll be supporting it. As much as I would love to have put something else forward, this is going to be the best that we can do under these circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Indu Balachandran, as you were the mover of the motion, would you like to wrap up or sum up?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you to the staff for a very robust and fast-paced consultation process and planning proposal. It is, and I know we've got a lot on at the moment. I also want to thank Councillors Nye, Taylor and Smith for their considered thoughts on lot size, tree cover and the extraordinary change that is upon us. I recognise this decision will cause significant change in housing typology and character in Ku-ring-gai. Over 9,000 lots in Ku-ring-gai will now be eligible for dual occupancy. We have constituents who worry about the loss of the garden suburb that most of us enjoy in some form or other, directly or indirectly. Equally, there is the argument from our constituents, as Councillor Nye shared with us, about intergenerational equity and the fast eroding opportunity for anyone who didn't get into the housing market some years ago. And this affects economic and social equity in our immediate and broader community. So as councillors, we do need to make the best decision that offers the best balance. There is a 10% differential in submissions. In submissions, an online survey with the preference that is stated in the office's recommendation. This is not marginal, and I will not re-prosecute decisions, the reasons. Change is upon us, and we can do well as councillors. All we can do well is to help manage the change and contain it at a pace that allows our community to adapt and adjust and be part of this change over time. The larger standardised lot size will act as a natural retainer for trees, and I accept that the standardised size will also make a simple administrative and compliance process in an era where councils are faced with increasing costs and reducing revenues. I support the office's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So we'll move on to GB 13. We'll just wait for Councillor Pettit to come back to the chamber and Councillor Wheatley to leave.
Oh, you first.
Okay, do I have a mover for GB 13? Councillor Taylor, and a seconder, Councillor Sam No.
Okay,
Councillor
thank
Taylor.
you, Madam Mayor. I believe the staff have a revised motion that was emailed through earlier today. There are a couple of additional recommendations. The first point is the staff recommendation, unchanged. The second point pertains to affordable housing, and the third point pertains to the intersection upgrades that are really important for this particular development.
Okay, Councillor Taylor, can I just get you to read
Yep.
if you don't mind?
I'll probably skip straight over the first recommendation, if that's okay. So the second recommendation is that the proponent be advised that council will seek provision in the planning agreement for the minimum proportion of affordable housing to be provided in perpetuity to ensure consistency with council's ongoing strategic work on the provision of affordable housing within Ku-ring-gai through an affordable housing policy and affordable housing contribution scheme. And the third recommendation is that the proponent is reminded that setbacks to the Pacific Highway frontage of the development will be required in consultation with Transport for New South Wales to ensure the future delivery of the approved traffic signal modifications at the intersection of the highway and Balfour Street, Havilah Road, and the extension of the right turn bay into Balfour Street. This may require a formal agreement with the New South Wales State Government. And may I just very briefly speak to this, Madam Mayor?
Yeah,
So I
that's
haven't
fine.
prepared a speech for this particular motion. I just want to say that affordable housing needs to be in perpetuity. That has been clear in every single forum that I've attended over the last 3 years on affordable housing and housing in general. It should not be time limited. It is a vital part of our future policy, and it should be a part of this development. And secondly, anybody who's driven down the highway anywhere near peak hour, southbound, will know that that pinch point at Linfield needs to be improved. The right turn bay into Balfour Road is diabolical. It fills up almost instantly, and then you have accidents happening there. There are many accidents at that intersection. We need that intersection to be improved. That's not just for Roseville Ward, that's for everybody using that road all the way up through Hornsby and into the Central Coast. So these are two important additions to the motion, the original motion, which we've also adopted from the start.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Sam Nye is the seconder. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to reiterate what Councillor Taylor has said on point 3. So at the moment, especially during peak times, we have a bottleneck effect here at Pacific Highway. I know that when people put together this planning proposal, they said, well, given current circumstances, perhaps we don't need to widen the Pacific Highway. But the reality is, Ku-ring-gai's population is about to double over the next 3 decades or so. We're going to see twice the number of dwellings. We're going to have a lot more homes here, not just in Ku-ring-gai, by the way, but also in Hornsby Council and further up north. Now, a lot of these residents, whether they live in Roseville or Linfield, but also Pymble, Gordon, Wahroonga, St Ives, Turramurra, Waitara, Hornsby, Asquith, wherever they live, they all still need to go down the Pacific Highway, and they all face the same bottleneck. So I believe that it is very helpful if the removal of the bottleneck is possible, then we should at all times consider doing that. So yeah, it's just a very strong encouragement to the developer, to Transport for New South Wales, please consider this road widening. It's not possible any other way. Having land dedicated for the railway underpass, I mean, that's nice, but it's a Pacific Highway, which makes the biggest difference for the entire North Shore. Thank you.
We've still got 3.5 minutes, Councillor and I. Councillor Indu Balachandran, you are the
Thank
next
you, Madam
speaker.
Mayor. I'm speaking in support of the alternate motion and want to add that the representative for the developer at the public forum noted that the planning agreement had been drafted prior to the Council's affordable housing policy draft, and to strongly support the inclusion of reference to this in the Council's negotiation with the developer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. Councillor Martin Smith.
Madam Mayor, I will be speaking for this notice motion. Would just like to ask a couple of questions though. I do drive past this pitch point and agree with the councillors that put this forward here this evening. I just wanted to ask the question through you to the Director of Strategy. Is this something that we can impose on the applicant or not?
Director Watson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the matter is currently subject to a gateway review. These issues, my staff assisted the councillors prepare these words. They're consistent with previous advice we've given to council. We think they're reasonable, and they're really reiterating positions that this council has held for 7 or 8 months now. Whether or not we're successful at the end of the day is not a matter I can speculate on, but none of these things is unreasonable, no.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very much in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barbara Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All I want to say is that we need to take all care we can in relation to affordable housing. It is a huge issue in our community, and if we don't start to address it now and really do make whichever proponent think carefully about the future, we will be lagging behind all the time. So I commend this. Thank you.
Fantastic. Councillor Taylor, as the mover of the motion, would you like to sum up?
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Okay, no worries. Well, we will put that to the vote. All those in favour? That looks like that's unanimous. If we could just call Councillor Wheatley to come back in before we continue. Okay. So the next item is business with notice. Is there any business without business without notice? Is there any business without notice subject to clause 9.3 of the Code of Meeting Practice? There appears to be none. Okay, we have questions with notice. General Manager, are there any questions with notice?
Madam Mayor, there is a response to a question with notice, a written response on Norman Griffiths Oval.
Okay, thank you. The next item is, we just clarified that we have one site inspection, which is 77 Kalgoa Road, Pymble, which the date and time will be determined by the staff. Okay, now we're actually at the conclusion of the meeting. There being no further business, I'd like to thank councillors and staff. I'd also like to thank the members of the public for their attendance. The webcast of this meeting will be available on the council website and minutes will be published within the next 2 working days. I declare the meeting closed at 7:45. Thank you.